All right, it's your boy Jerry, the TR Expert Washington, here to give you a workout. Today we're going to be going over 5 movements that you can put together to create a full body workout. Now we're not going to be doing the workout in its entirety. I'm going to show you how the exercises go, and I'm going to cue you along the way. Of course, if you want to do more repetitions, you're more than welcome. But I just want you to see how these 5 movements work so you can create your own workout routine. This actual routine is one that we kind of do for most of our clients when they come in. It's essentially our protocol, if you will. It's just to check on their mobility, see how their strength is, and of course, get a little bit of cardiovascular because we do quite a few reps on some of these exercises. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and check out this first movement. So we're going to start off at the top of your body. We're going to do what's called a press, okay? Now with this press, we're going to be working our triceps as well as our pecs, okay? You're going to start off using those, putting those handles, or those hands on the handles, excuse me, and you're going to have your straps at 3/4 lengths. As you can see, 3/4 lengths is approximately 6 inches from the bottom, okay? So now in this exercise, the closer you are to the anchor point, which is where it's locked into the wall or the door, wherever you have it locked into, the closer you are to that anchor point, the more difficult the exercise is, okay? The further you are away from the anchor point, the easier it gets. Also, the longer you make these straps, the more difficult you can make this exercise. It doesn't work for all the exercises, but if I were to take these straps and bring them down to full extension, that would make this exercise a whole lot harder. So I'm going to go adjust these back up to 3/4 lengths, and I'm going to show you how these presses work, okay? So again, you're going to have your hands in the handles. You're going to start off with your heels dug into the floor. You're going to have your hands approximately 6 inches outside your shoulders, all right? It doesn't have to be exactly, but outside the shoulders is fine. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to try to keep these straps as steady as possible as you bend your elbows and lower your body down into your chest. So you're going to try to get your chest as close as you can into your hands, and then you're going to come back up. Now, one thing is, the one thing that's awesome about the TRX is not only does it work your strength, but it also helps you with your stability in your joints. So what we're doing here is we're going to try to keep your hands as steady as possible. On different exercises, of course, there's different goals, but on this particular exercise, we're going to try to keep our hands as steady as possible as we lower our body down, lowering that chest down in between the hands, and then coming back up. That coming back up part is the hard part. So if you're doing this at home, try it out. See if you can get 10 reps without moving those handles. I guarantee you it's a lot harder than it looks. All right, so yeah, you want to focus on lowering that body down, trying to keep those straps or those handles as steady as possible. You also want to make sure that you're engaged in your hips, all right? I see a lot of people when they do this movement, they hinge the hips, and so it becomes almost like they're bowing. You want to focus on keeping those glutes engaged, and you're going to lower that body all the way down as close as you can into your hands. You also want to focus on your feet. You want those heels to be dug into the floor. Now, if you don't have a ton of ankle mobility, it's understandable if your heels come up. You still want to focus on trying to keep your heels plugged into the floor as you lower your body down while keeping those hips forward. Again, if you don't have the ankle mobility so that your heels stay on the floor, that's fine. Just focus on pushing your heels down, making your leg as long as possible so that you can keep your core engaged. That's what that movement does. All right, so up next, we're going to work on your upper body a little bit more. We're going to be doing what's called a fallout, okay? So with that fallout, we're going to be working that core, working those abs, working your back, working your shoulders. And here's why. Because we're doing what's called an eccentric movement, okay? At least for the abdominal. So what that means is that we're, instead of doing like a crunch or a sit-up, which you normally associate with doing abs, we're going to be doing something that elongates, that makes those abs longer. So you're trying to make those abs not necessarily longer, but make them work from a greater range of motion, okay? With a crunch, you kind of reduce the range of motion. On this exercise, you actually increase the range of motion, which actually makes the abs work even harder, all right? So here you go. We're going to do a fallout, okay? So again, the closer you are to the anchor point, the more difficult it is. I have super strong six-pack abs, just kidding, but I have strong abs, so I'm going to come back a little bit so you can see what it looks like, all right? So you're going to reach your arms up, and as you reach your arms up, you want to focus on keeping those lats engaged. I see a lot of people, the first thing that happens is those shoulders start coming forward as those hands come forward. You want to keep those lats engaged. You want to push those heels down like we do on the press and reach those arms as far forward as you can, okay? When you reach those arms far forward as you can, you're going to engage those abs even more, tilt that pelvis just a little bit, and that's going to bring those hands back to your body, okay? So you want to go right to here. I'll see a lot of people when they do this, they kind of rest a little bit. You want to focus on keeping those core muscles engaged the whole time. Again, drawing those lats down, pushing those straps as far forward as you can, reaching those arms out as you push those heels down, and that's going to take those abs to that eccentric phase, and that's going to elongate them, strengthening them even more than you would with a crunch, okay? Love that exercise. Definitely, if you have a TRX routine and you don't have that in there, you're missing out. All right, so up next, we're going to be doing a little bit of a little bit of biceps and lats, okay? So we're just kind of moving our way from the front to the back now. We're going to do what's called a row, okay? This is a mid row to be specific. What you're going to do is you're going to grab those handles. You're going to have your hands right in your armpits. Then you're going to walk forward about one step, all right? That's what I normally tell my beginner clients to do. Now, if you're more advanced, obviously, again, the closer you are to the anchor point, the more difficult the exercise is. I'm not going to show you how to do it from a lateral position, meaning that you can be completely horizontal, but that's super hardcore, also called a Australian pull-up. All right, so we're going to be here, all right, taking one step forward. We're going to have those hands starting in the armpits. We're going to have those shoulders drawn down and into your spine. You're going to have those glutes engaged, those abs tight, so meaning that you're not going to have your hips sagging. You want to make focus on keeping those glutes squeezed. And if you want to really challenge yourself, you can have those toes up. All right, so you're going to straighten those arms out. Now, on this back end of the exercise, it's very important to keep those glute squeezed and those abs tight because you want to round those shoulders. Now, as you round your shoulders, a lot of people, they have the tendency to let those hips drop. But you want to keep those glutes squeezed, let those shoulders round so you can get that full range of motion in the shoulder. Then we're going to squeeze those shoulder blades back and then pull that body up. Now, it's not as segmented as I just made it look, but I just wanted to have you have a look at what it looks like from a position that is not full speed, all right? So you're going to be, again, starting with those hands in the armpits, bringing those arms back, full extension, getting those getting those shoulders rounded, and pull yourself back up and completing the motion, all right? So that's a row. That's a really good exercise. You see I'm a little bit out of breath, but it's a really good exercise for working that full body. We're really good at working those lats. It's full body because, as I said, you got to squeeze your glutes. You got to lift those toes up. You work your anterior tibialis, those shin muscles, all the good stuff for those runners. Anyways, so we're now now we're going to go into our lower body movements, okay? We have 2 lower body exercises that we're ready to rock and roll for you, so stay tuned. Here we go. So once again, we're going to have the straps at 3/4 lengths. I'm going to adjust this. This is kind of annoying me. Straps aren't completely even. I noticed that when the middle of filming, but that's okay. We're just going to adjust these. We're going to keep it going. There we go. Now they're even. All right, so we're going to be doing a squat. All right, we're in our lower body exercise. We're going to be doing a squat, and it's a very simple exercise. A lot of people get it wrong, though. So I'm going to try to break it down for you so you can get a feel for exactly how it should feel in your body. So first, you're going to start off very similar to the rows. You're going to have your hands in your armpits. Now, you're going to make sure that when you're doing this exercise, this dissimilar thing, the thing that's not like the rows, is that you want to start in an upright position. A lot of my clients, when they line up to do their squats, they start off in this position. You don't want to be leaning back. You want to be directly upright because your proportions of your body are going to dictate the range of motion in this squat. Okay, so hands right in front of the armpits. Head is stacked on top of the shoulders. Shoulders are stacked on top of the hips. Hips are stacked on top of the heels. You can be drawing a straight line up and down. We're going to see if we can put that in the post edit and see if we have a straight line in my body. All right, so we're going to go into our squats here. As I said, we're going to go down and back. First thing we do is a hip hinge. We've been talking about this for the past couple of weeks here. You're going to hip hinge, meaning you're going to stick your tailbone back, all right, and that's going to lower your body. Now, what we like to say here is that when your elbows are locked, you can stop your squat, meaning that your arms are going to be full extension. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to have those shoulders stacked on top of the hips. So on the bottom of your squat, shoulders are stacked on top of hips. Hips are directly in line with the knees, and the knees are going to be directly on top of your ankles, right? And that is a full squat, right? I'm going to give you a couple in full speed. You see what they look like. Again, you see I saw the first motion was the hip hinge, not the knees bending. A lot of people have that tendency to bend the knees first. Want to hinge those hips, then lower yourself right into that squat, and that's going to get you in a good position. Now you want to focus on really trying to engage those hips. A lot of people, when they're doing this exercise, they tend to pull themselves back up. You want to push through those heels, and that's going to get you back upright. Now, if you mastered that, a little bonus exercise for you, you can do what's called a pistol squat, okay? Very similar to what I just showed you. The only difference is you're going to have one foot off the ground. You're going to lower yourself down so that heel, or excuse me, so that knee is directly in line with that hip, or in line with the heel, and the hips are in line with the shoulder, and the shoulders are going to be directly upright. All right, so yeah, we got one more exercise for you. We're going to do a little lower body again. We're going to work the back half of the body. As I said, we're working the front, then we're working the back. We did the front of the legs, thighs. Now we're going to be working the hamstrings. We're going to be doing what's called a hip press, okay? I'm going to show you how it looks. You're going to start off on the ground. You're going to be grabbing these foot straps here while you're laying on your back. So you're going to be laying on your back. Just pulled my sweatshirt up here. Let me adjust myself. All right, so you're going to be laying on your back. Grab the foot straps. That's the fabric part of the TRX. You're going to put your heel in there. Now, if you notice, a TRX is almost shaped like a foot. So you want that back heel here on this exercise, and your toes are going to be lined up here. And you don't want your toes to turn out to the side here. A lot of people have that tendency to turn their toes out, use the back of their leg, or excuse me, the side of their leg. But we want to hit the belly of the hamstring. So you want to really focus on trying to get that heel directly in there. I like to put it on my Achilles, right on the back of my shoe, and make sure your toes are facing up. Again, not out to the side. All right, same thing on the other side. Make sure it goes on the Achilles. There we go. All right, so we got both toes facing up. You're going to do this exercise. You're going to be bending the knees, okay? It's called a hip press because we're bending the knees. There's another exercise called the heel press. We might show it on another day, but we're going to bend those knees. First motion, you're going to tuck your pelvis. All right, I got something stuck in my eye there. You're going to tuck your pelvis. That means you're going to be pushing your lower back down into the floor. As you push your lower back, I don't know if you can see, but it's going to make my tailbone come off the ground, okay? It almost gives me a little momentum, but you don't want to use that momentum. You're going to tuck that pelvis, and then you're going to push down through your heels, and that's going to lift your hips up off the ground. All right? Now, I love this exercise. A lot of people love this exercise because it works the belly of the hamstring. If you actually use a leg curl machine or even with a Romanian deadlift in certain senses, you're going to be working more towards the knee, the bottom of the hamstring. But this really gets the belly of the hamstring. It's nothing better than this exercise. So you're going to be pushing, again, tucking that pelvis, pushing the heel down, and that's going to lift your tailbone up off the ground. The goal here is try to get your knees, hips, and shoulders in one single plane if you can, almost like a diagonal line. I doubt I'm there. I didn't warm up before this, but I can see if I can get there for you. You're going to push again, push down, and then you're going to get that tailbone up. Whoa, there we go. That's some engagement there. Now, if you want to really challenge yourself in this movement, you're going to bring your arms up off the ground. If you have your elbows on the floor, you can actually push down and assist you in getting your body up. But if you want to go all hamstring, full hamstring, get those arms up off the ground. Let's see what we got here. We're going to lift those hips up off the ground, tucking that pelvis first, pushing the heels down, and here we go. Whoa, that's some hamstrings. Yeah, so that's a little hamstring work, working the back of the legs. Again, you want to focus on trying to keep those toes facing upward. A lot of people have that tendency to let those toes rotate out in this exercise. That gets the outside of the glute. That's not the purpose of this exercise. Now, obviously, it's great to work all muscles if you can, but you want to try to focus on working the muscles that you're supposed to work for your specific movements. All right, that's how you work yourself with a TRX when it comes to your full body workouts. I actually got a little bonus exercise for you. This is called a modified fallout. Now, I love fallouts, as I said. I love modified fallouts even more because if you don't have ankle mobility, like I spoke of earlier, it's hard to get that full range of motion in your fallout. So if you're really trying to get deep into those abs, you're going to put those knees on the mat. You're going to engage your abs, okay? You're going to draw your shoulders down and back, so you don't want to round your shoulders. We talked about that earlier. You want to draw those shoulders down and back, and you want to push those straps as far as you can away from your body. Now, as you saw, I reached a little bit further because I don't have to worry about ankle mobility. Now, the key here is that you want to focus on keeping those abs as tight as possible throughout this exercise, all right? A lot of people, when they're here, they end up letting their abs disengage, and that means they're going to be using their shoulders for that next rep. So keep those abs engaged, keep those lats drawn in. You reach out, keep those abs engaged the whole time. All right. So that, my friend, is a full body workout using a TRX. I didn't mean to give myself a little sweat, but I worked up a little sweat there. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, I'd love to see your comments down below. If you have any questions about this or any of our videos from our library, I'd love for you to write those comments down below. All right. Of course, you can see more of these videos if you click on that subscribe button down below. Click that. Make sure you click on the little bell so you get notified when our next video comes out. All right. Thanks again for watching. And as always, keep good company.
That's awesome!